Well, hello everyone, how y'all doing? Those of you who have been following my adventures in computer land know why there haven't quite been as many videos as usual out lately. I've narrowed the problem down to a motherboard. And of course, if you replace the motherboard, you're basically looking at a new machine. So if you want to help me out with that, donate.bogosity.tv will help me greatly. I'll do another thing at the end, but for now, just bear with me if these videos take a little bit longer to make them at all the blue screens and everything. So getting into it, those of you who have been following me for longer than my YouTube career, basically back to before the turn of the century, you'll know that I was a vocal opponent of the DMCA even as it was being debated in Congress. I saw at the time how it meant that we were all just going to be crushed under the jackboot of corporations who could just shut us down anytime they want just by saying so. And of course, I've been covering all sorts of problems with that, mostly with the AI cases lately, but also in other issues like that $1 billion judgment against Cox that's going up to the Supreme Court. But I wanted to make this video just to give you a couple of stories. These are basically stories I was looking at for the podcast and decided not to do. I decided to do them together because they're both from the last couple of weeks. This first one is from September 15th, and the second one is from, okay, that's earlier in June. But anyway, I wanted to give you an idea of just a couple of the typical stories that happen with the DMCA that usually don't get a lot of attention. These are just kind of a microcosm of the things that happen all the time, starting with Burger King. And this has to do with those new AIs they have at the drive-up, which is good in a lot of ways because it takes away the problem of, yes, I want a double cheeseburger. No, a double cheeseburger. No, a double cheeseburger. Say it with me. Yeah. But who would have thought that there would be security problems with it? This isn't really about the AI itself. It's about the insecure way that they implemented it and how Burger King responded to the guy who exposed it. This is something else we've seen a lot of. A security researcher finds a flaw, notifies the public, and they go after him like he's some sort of hacker. So this is what we are seeing here. Burger King has invoked the Digital Millennium Copyright Act to force the removal of a security researcher's blog post that disclosed serious vulnerabilities in its new drive-thru assistant system. Bob the Hacker published a report showing how attackers could bypass authentication, listen in on customer orders, and even access employee records. The system allowed anyone to sign up as a new user because user registration had not been disabled and receive a password in plain text via email. Are plain text emails the least secure thing or what? And with that, you can see and modify data across every store using the system, including employee profiles and internal equipment orders. And that is so bad that the only way I can think of making it worse is if there was a privilege escalation along with it. Oh, look! A hidden GraphQL mutation even allowed the researcher to promote any user to admin, giving full control over store listings, notifications, and more. The flaws were reported to Restaurant Brands International just 1 hour after discovery. RBI promptly patched the vulnerabilities the same day. So that shouldn't be a problem, right? You wouldn't think. The research confirms no customer data was retained and responsible disclosure protocols were followed throughout. Despite the swift fix, threat intelligence firm Cybele sent Bob the Hacker a DMCA notice. Remember, this is supposed to be about copying, like he grabbed a movie and posted it online or whatever, alleging unauthorized use of the Burger King trademark and accusing the blog of promoting illegal activity. How many times have we heard them resort to that? Anytime you just notify the public, hey, these things might not be secure, take precautions, and then they try to shut you down. His report had been live for less than 48 hours before the blog was taken down. An archived copy remains available online. Cybersecurity professionals have reposted the findings on social platform because the Streisand effect is still a thing. In fact, this is really the only reason we're talking about it now. The only reason I'm making this video is not because I'm warning you of yet another cybersecurity vulnerability. It's because they used the DMCA to try and shut him up. The assistant platform retained audio recordings of drive-through conversations and processed them through an AI engine. Attackers could replay audio clips, potentially eavesdropping on customer orders. There was also a hard-coded password in the client-side HTML of an equipment ordering portal used by franchisees to request starter kits. So as major chains increasingly adopt AI-driven voice assistants, this incident underscores the importance of locking down authentication flows and safeguarding sensitive audio data, especially during beta testing. Yeah, this really isn't about the AI part of it. It was everything else about the system that was unsecure. You could get in as any user. You could create a user. You could elevate that user to admin. It was retaining audio recordings and retaining all this customer data and order data and everything else. That was the problem, not the AI. And it's just what you always have to think of when you put in a new system like that. So that's our first story. The DMCA being used to shut up a security professional about a vulnerability that had already been patched. Why? Because it might make them look bad. Our second one here is a different kind of app. So in this one, an Android TV app was suspended after a copyright complaint because it basically worked like a web browser and was therefore able to load a pirate site that could also be loaded in any standard web browser. Google suspended it. It took 3 weeks to get it back in the Google Play Store. Google suspended the app based on a DMCA complaint from several Israeli TV companies that said the app allows users to view the infamous copyright infringing website known as SDAROT. Yeah, I never heard of that. But that same website could be viewed on any standard browser, including Google's own Chrome app. So developer Elias Saba wrote in a blog post, "The app was removed on May 19th due to the DMCA takedown request. Instead of recognizing the absurdity of the claim that a web browser is somehow liable for all the unauthorized use of copyrighted content on the internet, Google took a back seat and denied my appeal to have the app reinstated." In addition to that, he filed a DMCA counter notification, and under the law, that starts a 10 business day countdown for the TV company's law firm to file legal actions. But of course, what do they do? It's business days, so you do it on a Friday before the Memorial Day holiday. So ordinarily that would be 2 weeks. This could make it 2.5 or even 3. But even so, when we've seen this before, I've experienced myself, that time comes and goes without anything happening and without it being reinstated. So it's a minimum 10 business days that they have to take it down for no matter what, which is ridiculous in and of itself, and I don't understand why judges haven't thrown that out. But after 15 business days, they are legally required to reinstate the content if no further action is taken. And they don't. Saba said he was informed by Google yesterday that the app was no longer suspended, but that now it was rejected by Google due to an invalid safety form. This was another mistake, Saba wrote. In yet another example of the Google Play Store's absurdity, Google had determined that my app collected email addresses without declaring so. Since there is no way for my app itself to collect email addresses, and without any additional information or help from Google, I can only assume that Google is referring to the email listing sign-up form on this website, which loads by default in the web browser of the downloader app. Fearing that another appeal would be like arguing with a brick wall, Saba said he accepted defeat and updated the Play Store data safety form for my app and declared that the app collects email addresses. This means the downloader is now flagged by the Google Play Store as collecting and sharing personal information. And Saba wrote, "I assure you, the downloader app itself does not collect or share any of your personal information. Well, unless you plan to file your taxes using the built-in web browser in Downloader, because apparently, once again, what is done in the web browser on the internet is somehow the fault of my app." And so his big complaint here, of course, is that the DMCA is broken. And he said the app was offline for 20 days all because the DMCA is broken with no consequences for people or TV corporations half a world away that choose to abuse it for your own benefit. While it was only unavailable for about 3 weeks, the app has now lost 47% of its active users compared to the day before it was removed. But as I've pointed out repeatedly, and I've pointed out from the beginning, this is not the DMCA being broken. This is the DMCA working exactly how it was intended to work. This is about a bludgeon that corporations can use against third parties who compete against them. That's all it ever was, and that's what it's used at. He said there is no way to view content in the app other than to use the web browser to navigate to a website. The app also doesn't present or direct users to any website other than my blog, which loads as the default homepage in the web browser. So Google said it followed the process set out by the DMCA and allowed both parties to exercise their options under that law. Google noted that its standard approach is to forward any counter notification like the one Saba filed to the complainant and wait 10 business days for the complainant to seek a court order or file a claim of infringement with the U.S. Copyright Office Copyright Claims Board. Except that doesn't really seem to be what happens, does it? Because there are no consequences. I mean, when all this happened, I was being told that from all over the place. Ha ha ha, you silly libertarian, you. Don't you realize that if you file a false DMCA complaint, why, that's perjury? And they'll put a stop to it. How many millions upon millions upon millions of false DMCA claims have there been? And I can't find anywhere a single prosecution for perjury against any of them. Not a single one. This will never stop until there are consequences for invalid, improper, and fraudulent DMCA and copyright claims. Not perjury, which apparently is a sword without a blade. You might as well threaten to beat them with a wet noodle. It's no punishment at all. It might be against the law on paper, but a law that is not enforced might as well not be a law. I mean, who was it? Warner Brothers, like 10 years ago, something like that, admitted that most of their DMCA takedowns were fraudulent, that they were false, and that they knew at the time that they filed them that they were false. And their claim was basically, oh yeah, so what are you going to do about it, huh? Huh? What are you going to do about it? Nothing you can do about it. So they'll keep doing this. They'll keep making this impossible for people. Because that's the whole idea. Because they have never liked the fact that the internet allows you and me to do this. That they allow you and me to create content outside of their big cartels. Oh, they had everything nicely controlled, and all the money was going through them. Then the internet came along. And so here we have it being used in 2 cases where there was no violation of copyright law. There was not even an alleged violation of copyright law. And they can still take you down. You might eventually get back up. But anyone who does this knows how important just those first few days are. You know, what's the assurance of, oh, it'll be back up after 3 weeks? It's too late then. It's not going to get the views then. It's not going to appear in the recommended videos because it's too old. Oh, it went for 3 weeks with no one viewing it because it was down. And it's not a new video, so it won't show up. It'll be buried down in the list of people's subscriptions or whatever. And that is what we see from content creators, from app developers, all over the place. As difficult as it is to get attention and get ahead, the DMCA makes it 1,000 times harder. And that is actually the whole purpose for its existence. Thank you so very much for watching. Comments for the Comment God, shares for the Share Throne. Please hit like, subscribe, and the bell. Really, I can't emphasize how much sharing helps. If you can't give, then please share videos. I saw one that you could tell in the analytics they were trying to shadow ban it because it would have that nice curve and then just get cut off flat. And then it would start popping up again because most likely someone shared it. And it would start get going in, then cut off again as the shadow banning kicks in. And then again and again, I had these little stair steps from when people were sharing it. Because if you share it, it's not just about the people who watch it directly from your share. Sharing makes the algorithm go, oh, I should show it some more. So please do that. And also, please Now of all times, donate .pagosity.tv because computers are expensive. And there's all sorts of ways to give. If you want to give pennies, you can do that with crypto. You can't really do that with fiat money because of all of the fees and everything they take out of it. There's no sense in giving like $1 or so just through the banking system. I'll get about 30 cents of it once all the rest of it goes through. So you can give a smaller amount with cryptocurrency and I'll get all of it and it won't be an issue. Or of course you can use PayPal, Venmo, cryptocurrency, or become a regular supporter. Get these videos early and ad-free. And there are other benefits like the live stream that we're going to have to try and schedule, and we'll see if my computer will stay alive for it. If it can actually make the whole 2 hours without blue screening, that might be a challenge, but we'll see what happens. Thank you so very much for watching. Until next time, stay strong and be free.